What's up, guys? Hoop Break here, and before I get into this video, I want to provide you guys with a quick little update. I'm going to start being more consistent about YouTube, trying to post every 2 weeks. As you can see, I've changed my setup, sacrificing like lighting. You know, my face doesn't look well lit, but now you guys have a view, so kind of better. Also, I got a mic, so this should sound much better. Another big Hoop Break update is we're gonna have an app update soon. We completely redesigned the app. We're almost done redesigning it. It looks so much cleaner now. And go download that if you haven't already. Link in probably the description. Without further ado, that's enough of the BS. Let's get right into it. Alright, so the first player that I think might break out in the 2020-2021 season is Norman Powell. He's honestly looked surprisingly quiet this year, and I've had some second thoughts about selecting him because of how he's performed. But I do think he'll heat up. Throughout his career, he's always played better in the second half of the season, and I'll expect that to continue this year. So why do I have Norman Powell on this list? So first, it's apparent that the Raptors are going to have a lot more PT to give out because they gave up Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol, two guys who were getting 20 minutes plus a game. That frees up 40 minutes. Divide that by like 10-man rotation. That gives like a 4 to 6 minutes more for each player, which is decent. He quietly averaged 16 points per game last year, and he was 50% from the field and 40% from three, 84% from the line. That means he was only 6% away in free throw percentage from being 50-40-90 last year. And 50-40-90, I don't think people understand how highly regarded that is. It's very difficult to be in the 50-40-90 club. Over the last 10 years, only 4 players have actually done it, which was MVP 15-16 Curry, MVP 12-13 Durant, last year's Middleton, and one that really surprised me was 18-19 Brogdon. Powell was also 94th percentile league-wide for points per ISO possession last year, which I found interesting because with Toronto's next man up mentality and their good passing and playmaking, I wouldn't think they'd even play much ISO basketball. But I think what I've observed them do is sometimes they'll put Norman Powell when the offense gets stagnant, when it's getting slow, or when there's a weaker bench defenders on the floor, and he'll just cook up. I also think he's a really good fit on the Raptors because what do the Raptors have? They have playmaking and defense, but they really need scoring, and I think you can make a fair argument that Norman Powell is the best scorer on the Toronto Raptors. Overall, I would just say Powell's a super underrated scorer, and I could see him taking a jump and emerging in the All-Star conversation this year or next year. I don't know about this year anymore just because his rocky start to this shortened season, but I'd say next year I think there's a good chance he'll be an All-Star. Alright, let's talk about a guy who plays on a more boring small market team and really just doesn't get the recognition he deserves, which is Domantas Sabonis. And this heavily contrasts with Norman Powell because Domantas Sabonis has been lighting it up the beginning of this season. He's another guy who takes Lowe's motto to heart, and he never stops improving. He's made significant improvements once again this offseason, and he looks much more comfortable handling the ball and playmaking. He's been doing it all for the 4-2 Pacers as of the recording of this video. He's averaging 21 points, 7 assists, and 11 rebounds this season. That guy's like 6'10", 6'11" power forward, and he's dishing out 7 assists per game. Like, that's legitimately impressive. That's some Jokic numbers, some early Jokic numbers. So the golden number for Sabonis right now is 57. That's his shooting percentage from the field and 3. So he's really just been unstoppable this season, and I'm really excited to see how this Pacers team does throughout the season. I'm definitely going to be tuned into quite a bit of their games. Obviously, I don't think he'll keep up the 57-57 shooting splits, but I think he's poised to have an even better All-Star season this year than last year and help snag a playoff spot for the Pacers. Alright, up next is Zion Williamson, and honestly, I'm really surprised that no one's talking about him now for how hyped up he was coming into the league. This man was the biggest prospect since LeBron James in 2003. And he's averaging 19 points per game and 8 rebounds per game on 54% from the field, and it seems like no one's really noticing. And I can visibly see the changes he's made in his game in the offseason. He's put a much greater focus on crashing the boards, which is what the Pelicans need. Besides Steven Adams, they don't really have many good rebounders. He's playing better defense this year by not going for as many blocks that can easily turn into easy buckets or fouls, and he looks much more comfortable on switches. Overall, defensively, Zion looks significantly better. Zion also looks healthier, quicker, and fully rested, which makes a huge difference. And I could see him making an all-star appearance this year, because if you look at the forwards out west, you got Kawhi, PG, and LeBron, but after that, the most notable is actually someone on Zion's team, which is Brandon Ingram. So I could see him definitely snagging one of those spots. All right, up next, we got Coby White. So this is a guy that I think I might be making this video a little early for. I think he might still have a couple more years before he really breaks out, but he's still great to watch right now, and he's only a sophomore. Last season, after a slow start, he really didn't look like he'd become an NBA star. At the beginning of the season last year, he wasn't shooting very well, just didn't look that confident. However, he completely turned it around after the All-Star break, and in the 10 games after the All-Star break last season, he averaged 25 points per game and 4.3 assists per game on very good shooting splits. And the thing about White that really intrigues me is his ability to shine in big moments. Like, most rookies don't just come into the league cold-blooded, but Coby White did. And I remember this one particular game because the Bulls were playing my team, OKC. And Coby White was doing everything on Chris Paul in the fourth quarter. And Chris Paul's a good perimeter defender, especially when the game's on the line. And Coby White was hitting difficult threes, driving to the rim, not being shy of contact at all, drawing a lot of fouls. And yeah, he had 35 that game, but the Bulls lost. You know, you can't expect anyone to beat last year's OKC in the clutch anyway, so whatever. And overall last season, just to back up his clutch performances with some stats, is he was 50% from the field and 50% from three in the clutch, which is, for a rookie, incredible. And this year he's looked very good as well. He dropped 36 in a win over the Blazers, and he's had some big games already this season. So I, for the first time, I think, in 5 years, will be tuning into Bulls games. So yeah, watch out for Coby White. All right, next player, Jeremy Grant, and I think he's hands down been one of the most underrated players in the league for the last few years. I've always messed with him since he came into the league because he has two things that every team needs, which is 3 and D. And I don't think the Nuggets would have won that series last year without him, because he was so valuable. He matched up perfectly with that Clippers team, because on defense he could pick either Kawhi or Paul George up so they could double the other one. And on offense, he was a power forward who could stand in the corner, which would give Jokic so much space in the paint, and also draw out either Kawhi and Paul George, two great defenders, to the edge of the court, to the three-point line, where they can't really play help defense or anything. So I think he was a huge asset in that series. I think every team could use a lockdown big wing who nearly shoots 40% from three. There was actually some news about Jeremy Grant in the offseason because he got paid $60 million by Detroit. He got that bag, which is, it was $60 million over 3 years, so $20 million a year. But there were a lot of people saying, like, that's not role player pay. Like, he's overpaid. Like, that was dumb of Detroit. And I honestly don't think those people have really watched Jeremy Grant play and see his potential. Because I think if Jeremy Grant gets the green light and he works on his ball handling, his off-the-dribble shooting, his playmaking, I think he could be a legitimate all-star this or next year. And I think this was a great decision by the Pistons, not only because of his potential, but also because what else are the Pistons going to do with $60 million? They're not going to be able to get LeBron or Kawhi. No one wants to really go to Detroit. So then instead of, pouring their money into old injured Blake Griffin, why don't they spend their money on someone who could be a star for the future and take a little bit of a risk? And I really like that decisions by the Pistons front office. And I'm going to be tuning into some Pistons games for sure this year between him, Killian Hayes, and Derrick Rose. And I think you guys should all watch some too and watch Jeremy Grant's development with me. So yeah, those are my 5 guys that I think might break out this season. I could see all of them making an all-star game this season, but obviously that probably won't happen, just statistics and stuff. But I'd recommend you guys watch a couple games. I'll definitely be tuning into games and specifically watching all of these guys. But until then, be sure to follow me on Instagram, sub, like, all that stuff, all that good stuff. And I can't wait for you guys to see how the Hoop Break app's design looks now. I think it's improved a lot. So until then, I'll see you guys later.
Don't make me laugh. In the stew, I've been working on my craft. What I spend in the end, I make it back. And I keep my shawty right beside me. Ask me, that's true love, I could never need another side piece. Me and my gang on a long, long ride, cause we know life be a water slide.